23 stab wounds. That's how many it took to kill the most powerful man in the world. And here's the part that should shock you. He saw it coming. People warned him. His wife begged him not to leave the house that morning. A stranger literally handed him a note with the names of the conspirators, and he never read it. Julius Caesar walked into the Senate on March 15th, 44 BC, and within minutes, his closest friends and allies were driving blades into his body. But this isn't just a story about an assassination. This is a story about what happens when one man becomes too powerful for the world around him to handle. How does a man go from a middle-class kid with a nearly executed childhood to the absolute ruler of the greatest empire on Earth?
Rome in 100 BC was basically the world's most dysfunctional superpower. It was technically a republic, meaning the Senate made the laws. But in practice, it was a playground for the ultra-rich. A small elite class called the Optimates controlled everything. The courts, the elections, the military, and they worked very hard to keep it that way. Think of it like this. Imagine if every election, every court decision, and every major government contract was controlled by about 300 wealthy families. That's Rome. That's the world Julius Caesar was born into. Julius Caesar arrived on July 12th, 100 BC, born into a patrician family. Old blood, noble name. But here's the thing. Noble didn't mean rich. His family had status, but not the kind of money that actually moved mountains in Rome. Still, Caesar was sharp, frighteningly sharp. From a young age, people noticed something different about him. He had this rare combination of charisma, intelligence, and an almost reckless confidence that made people want to follow him, even when they probably shouldn't have. But before he could conquer anything, Rome nearly got him killed. When Caesar was just a teenager, a man named Sulla seized control of Rome and began hunting down his political enemies. Caesar's uncle by marriage, Marius, was one of Sulla's greatest rivals, which made young Julius a target. Sulla put Caesar's name on a death list. Caesar fled. He spent years hiding, dodging assassination squads, surviving on luck and nerve. When allies finally begged Sulla to spare him, Sulla reportedly said something chilling. In this boy, I see many Mariuses. In other words, this kid is dangerous. Get rid of him. They didn't. And that was the first mistake.
After Sulla died, Caesar came roaring back. And he came back with a plan. He understood something most politicians of his era didn't. The people were the real power. Not the Senate, not the aristocracy, the ordinary Romans. The soldiers, the farmers, the urban poor, they were the ones who could actually make or break a man's ambitions. So Caesar went to them. He threw lavish public games. He funded building projects. He forgave debts. He gave speeches that didn't sound like politician speeches. They sounded like a man who genuinely cared. Whether he did or not is a question historians still argue about. But it worked. Then came Gaul, modern-day France, Belgium, and parts of Germany. Caesar spent 8 years there, leading military campaigns that were basically the ancient world's version of a blockbuster war film. Brutal, brilliant, and relentless. But this is where things get darker than most history books admit. Caesar's Gallic Wars were military genius, yes, but they were also a humanitarian catastrophe. Ancient sources suggest over 1 million Gauls were killed and another 1 million enslaved. Entire tribes were wiped out, villages burned. Caesar himself wrote about this, matter-of-factly, the way someone might describe a quarterly earnings report. Back in Rome, he was celebrated as a hero. The Senate awarded him triumphs. The people adored him. And Caesar got richer with every conquest because the spoils of war, the gold, the slaves, the territory, all flowed back to his accounts. By the time Gaul was pacified, Caesar had done something no Roman general had in generations.
He'd built an army that was loyal not to Rome, not to the Senate, but to him personally. His soldiers had been with him through 8 years of hell. They trusted him. They would die for him. And that fact was about to change everything.